Great.
So hello, everybody. It's Deborah Jason. I am the author of Millionaire Marketing on a Shoestring Budget and DeborahJason.com. And you are on the Marketing Blab with Deborah. Today, I have an awesome guest. Her name is Terry Wildemann, and Terry is actually over on the East Coast while I'm speaking to you from Colorado. Terry is a law of attraction trainer. She's an intuitive business coach, and I'm actually going to turn it over to Terry so that she can tell you something about herself and you can hear it from her personally. So welcome, Terry. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Deb. It's a pleasure to be here again for take number 2.
Yes.
What do I do? Who is Terry Wildemann? Well, basically what I do is I work with entrepreneurs, leaders, and help them get to a place where they just stop self-sabotaging and they can be the best that they can possibly be, so they can be there for their clients, their families, their employees. And when you work with these folks and you help them stop the self-sabotage, it becomes transformational and magic. And I have all kinds of tools in my toolkit. It doesn't matter what they are, they work. And I got certified in a lot of this stuff because, frankly, I burned out many times. And it was like, hello, what's going on with this? What's happening? So learning how to stop the self-sabotage and how to present oneself with a very confident, competent, incredible manner. I call it the 4C image. You're coherent, and it's all about becoming very coherent in mind, body, and spirit. So that's what I do.
Well, I think we can come back to that because, as we were talking before we started the Blab, I had an experience yesterday, but today our focus is on client attraction strategies, and I want to ask you, you call yourself the Attractionpreneur. So why don't you tell us how that title came about and what's behind that?
Well, law of attraction has been a part of my life for a very long time. And I was manifesting things when I was a kid that I couldn't understand. And I just couldn't get it. The stuff that is manifested in my life, I would just sit there and marvel and like, how did I do this? And when The Secret came out, it pretty much validated a lot of what I already knew. But there were other tools before that kept coming to the surface. And one of them was Abraham. And I started studying Abraham, and it's like, oh my gosh, yes, I get it. And I got into that because my chiropractor said, you sound just like Abraham. And I stood there and go, Abraham who? Abraham who? Who are you talking about? He said, what are you talking about? And he kept saying, you talk just like Abraham. And so I got involved with all of that. And then I opened up my own holistic education leadership center in 2001. And started teaching law of attraction tools, and found a phenomenal book written by Michael Auger called The Law of Attraction. And he teaches it very much like I like to teach it, very practical, tactical, and a little bit more on the left brain side, getting a lot of the woo-woo out of it. Mm-hmm. And so what I love is the fact that looking back, applying all these tools, I've been able to look back and say, yes, these are all the ways that it worked. And these are all the ways that supposedly it didn't work, but in fact it was working, because law of attraction works 24/7. There's some teachers out there who teach law of attraction from the perspective of it's only attracting the good stuff. Guess what? It's what we attract, period, 24/7. Law of attraction is working constantly. And as I said before we started the recording, law of attraction doesn't have a brain. It does basically what we tell it to do. And sometimes our subconscious is screaming a lot louder than our conscious self.
Well, okay, let's go that way. Since, I did have this experience the other day as we were talking before we got on camera, where I had quite a few disappointments, and it was like one right after the other on the same day. And I just broke down and, said, what am I doing? Should I be doing this? Is this a sign that I shouldn't be doing what I'm doing? And I got really upset. And then as we were talking about, I lifted up my head and said, okay, instead of looking at what's going wrong, let's think about what's going right. And so I brought
Exactly.
up some of those things of what was going right in my day. And, it was all about booking some speaking engagements. And I had booked 2 that day, and I had a third one being confirmed. And so there were good things happening. But do you have a sense or a reasoning why it seems easier for us to focus on the things going wrong than the things going right?
Well, it's interesting, Deb, because, when I teach law of attraction, I use a tool called the clarity sheet. And the clarity sheet involves looking at the negative first, the contrast first. What is it that you don't want? And when you focus on what you don't want, we're really clear on what we don't want. That's very easy for us. And we talk about it a lot. I don't want this. I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want this. I don't want this. I don't want that. So the thing is, we're often told, oh, don't focus on that because you're going to bring that in. Oh, come on, get over it. It's like when we focus on it, in that moment that we hear ourselves saying, oh, I don't want this, in that moment, it gives you the opportunity to sprout and ask yourself the question, well, what do I want? If I don't want this, what do I want? And look at the exact opposite of what you want, of what you don't want. When you look at the exact opposite, then you're bursting clarity from what you don't want. So it's really important to, instead of avoiding this, oh, I don't want this, I don't want that, instead look at what you don't want very, very clearly and just use the opposite. And it is amazing how all of a sudden you get clear on, oh, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. And when you fold the sheet in half that I work with and you start focusing on what you do want because you've spent some time looking at what you don't want, transformational stuff begins to happen right away. And it's okay to feel bad. Like you were saying earlier, it's all right to spend a few moments. The key is not to wallow in it and sit there and go on Facebook and say, oh, I feel so bad. And this, and I start reading these things. And what people don't get is that the more attention you give to the bad stuff, the bigger and the bigger and the bigger it gets. Yes. Because you're giving it a lot of attention and a lot of vibrational qualities, and you just don't need that.
Well, let's take that and talk about client attraction strategies. Okay. So if you want to attract a certain type of client or let's leave it at that, a certain type of client, what are some of the things that you recommend people to do?
Okay, well, client attraction is about getting clear on who it is you want to attract. Right now, I have someone that I'm working with who I asked to fill out the clarity sheet. And it was all about client attraction. And she put down 4 distinct different types of people who are in all different industries.
That she wants to work with. And I said to her, and one of them was realtors. And I said to her, how many realtors are in your town? And she quoted me a number. I said, okay, how many realtors are in your county? This many. How many realtors are in your state? This many. I said, do you love working with realtors on a scale of 1 to 10? Oh, yeah, it's a 9. I said, great. So let's look at the other ones. And we started going through all of the other industries that she wanted to focus on. And I said, is there enough bandwidth for you to focus on all of these other industries? Knowing full well that if realtors are a 9 and you love working with realtors, that they're the folks that you want to niche with. Oh, well, what I do is open to all these other industries. I said, I get that. However, is there enough of you to be able to truly cultivate your ideal client in each of those niches when the realtor industry is a 9 for you? And she finally got it. And I said, your target audience, your ideal client are the realtors. So when you interact with the realtors and you spend all your time working with realtors, you're becoming an expert working with realtors, presenting what it is that you want. Does that make sense, Deb? Yeah, and actually it's a perfect example because I speak to realtor associations quite a bit. But what I would add to that is if she focuses her direction that way, it doesn't mean that she can't work with those other people should they come along.
That's right.
You know, I mean,
exactly.
if I built a reputation as working really well with realtors, and then somebody, let's say from a mortgage company or an insurance company says, hey, I heard you were great, but I'm not a realtor. Would you work with me? She could still say yes if it feels like a good fit.
However, those are industries that are associated with realtors.
That's true.
So that's a natural connection. Her industries were not associated with realtors.
With each other.
Her industries were way, way, way different. And so when you have it like what you just described, those are offshoots that are a perfect connection. And when you niche in with the realtor, which is what you wanted to do, those automatically become attracted because they go to the same networking events. They go to the same places. So it's easy. And that's the whole thing, to make it easy. And when it's easy, oh, wow, it's so natural to love what it is that you're doing.
Well, let's talk about, because you just mentioned, you know, networking at the same places. So what would be, I know you speak a lot about that. So what would be your, you know, let's say top 2 or 3 networking tips when you're at an event or in a conference or a meetup? What are some of the things that you share with people about how to attract clients when you're networking at an event?
Well, when you're networking, when you're going to go to these events, it's really important that you get yourself tuned in and tapped in and turned on. In other words, just get yourself grounded and centered. Who is it that you really want to meet? And is this the right networking event for you? You know, just to go to an event because you want to go to a networking event, it can be a waste of time and energy if you haven't researched the event to find out if the people that you are targeting go there. So it's really important to me, anyway, from a time perspective, that you are clear where that is concerned, that it is an event that is going to attract the kind of people that you want to interact with. Okay, number one. Number 2, it's to get clear on what you are offering. If you go into an event, into a networking event, with the idea of making sales, you're going to blow up. It's going to blow up in your face because that's not what networking is about. Networking is about creating connections. Networking is about service. Networking is about being there and offering people what it is that they want and need. If you just finished talking with Jerry Shoemaker, who is making the ideal shoe that is going to help the person who is in front of you, who happens to mention that their feet hurt, that's the connection that you make. I have no idea where that came from. That's the connection.
Whatever.
Okay, and you say to them, I just met somebody who may be able to help you with your problem, and you walk them over. And what does that make you? That makes you the great connector, and you will always be remembered for being the great connector. And when you're remembered at being able to give people what they want and they need, because you are so tuned in and listening on such a level that you can help people get what they want, you're always going to be top of mind. Yeah.
You know, I just did a couple of presentations earlier this week, and I speak a lot about the know, like, and trust factor.
Yes.
And I talk about just what you're saying. You know, it's about building relationships, about connecting and engaging with people so that later when the time comes, those people have started to know you, like you, and trust you. And a lot of times, just like the shoemaker example, you know, you might get that phone call and someone says, oh, Terry, I'm calling you not because I've met you before, but because I know Deborah. And Deborah said, if I needed XYZ, you were the go-to gal.
Exactly.
So it's that word of mouth that happens because of those relationships that you develop.
Exactly. Unfortunately, I see a lot of people at networking events getting out their business card and just throwing it out and giving it to people. Well, guess what? Those cards, if I haven't made an energetic connection with someone and I have their card, it gets round filed. I just don't keep it because I don't remember the person, and there's no, there isn't a reason or a purpose for me to keep them there, because it just isn't a fit. It's not a fit. However, and oh, by the way, that did happen with an attorney. And I looked at him, and he handed me his card, and I said to him, oh, goodness. And I said to him, what is this? He said, it's my business card. I said, I see that, but I have no idea who you are. Why are you handing me a business card when you haven't even introduced yourself to me? And he looked at me like I had 3 heads on my shoulders. He says, well, this always works for me. And I said, oh, really? Prove to me that you've gotten a lot of connections based on just handing business cards around. And he got all flustered and walked away from me. And I'm like, sorry, buddy.
I want to give 2 examples. When I speak, I do a demonstration just like that. I say, how many of you have been at an event and somebody comes up to you and says, hi, I'm Deborah. Here's my card, before they've even found anything out about you. Or the other one is, hi, Terry, I'm Deborah. Do you have a card?
Oh,
and there's no connection.
There's
and
nothing.
The other example I wanted to give sounds like the lawyer. I went to an event, and this woman's online waiting to register, and she was so excited, and she said to me, my goal tonight is I'm going to give out 50 business cards.
Oh,
and I'm like,
oh.
do you really think that she connected with 50 people? I don't think so. She was probably just busy doing what that lawyer did. You know, so it's really important to build that connection. And, well, what I was going to say is, I think you said it slightly differently a little earlier. Chances are at that event, you're not going to make a sale right then and there. You need to develop the relationship. So why not first find out if there's a connection of any kind, whether you actually ever do business with that person or not? Because there can always be, like you just said, a referral resource.
Exactly. You don't know who energetically is behind that individual. You don't know who they know. Mm-hmm. And they may not be a fit for you with what your business is, but they may know somebody who is. And that is the golden nugget. They may know somebody who is. So staying in touch with them is so important. Now, there's another tip that I love to share. And if you're going to really network and network professionally, and that is to get yourself a professional name tag. And I'm going to give a plug to the people I got this from. This badge, I absolutely love this badge. I have 2 of them. And they're from nicebadge.com. Tell them I sent you. Nicebadge.com. And I love bling. I'm a bling girl. Okay, so I got bling. They make the best bling badges. They truly, truly do. And what I love about this badge is not only is there lots of bling, but also on the back, and I want to show this to folks, you have a combination of a magnet and the pin. I highly encourage that you get both, because I have lost so many tags that only have the magnet to it. And there are certain outfits that I truly don't want the pin. And you wear it on your right side. I didn't put it on purpose. You wear it on your right side, not over here on the left side, over here on the right side. Why? Because when you shake hands with a nice firm handshake, shake hands with a nice firm handshake. Notice I'm saying nice firm handshake. What's happening is the energy is going right up the arm, right up the elbow, up the shoulder, to the name tag, to the mouth, right to the face. So if the tag is over here, I've never done this demo on a Blab before. When the tag is over here and you're shaking hands, what happens?
They shake.
It's a disconnect. It's a disconnect because you've got to go all the way across the person's body in order to be able to see their name tag. All right. So it's extra work for the person that you're connecting with. So always keep it on your right side, the same side that you shake hands with. And it's important that the handshake is firm. Last week I was at a networking event, and this woman who owned her business for 15 years, lovely, lovely young woman, gave me her handshake, and it was awful. Absolutely awful.
Well, that leads me to the question. I know you talk about a savvy handshake. So what is a savvy handshake?
This was fish.
That's a limp dish rag handshake.
This was fish rag. And I just looked at her and I knew I needed to word it very carefully. And I said, I asked her, I said, how long have you been in business? She said, it was either 13 or 15 years. And I said, you have a really, really fabulous business. How would you like a tip on how to, what was it? I don't remember my exact words. Would you like tips on connecting with people to make it even more powerful presentation? And she agreed. Oh my gosh. And the woman that she was with, who was one of her employees, they jumped. Yes. So that was very nice. And I taught her how to make the handshake. And she just looked at me and her eyes were huge. And she's like, wow, no one ever taught me that before. And it feels so much better. Okay. So I encourage men and women who are professionals, business owners, whoever, to please teach their daughters how to shake hands. We teach our little boys how to shake hands. We avoid teaching our daughters how to shake hands. And frankly, it's one of the biggest mistakes that we make. My daughter at the age of 3, my oldest, who is now a Navy lieutenant, at the age of 3, we were living in England. And any time that she picked up the phone I was running my business in England also. Anytime she picked up the phone, I said to her, if you're going to keep picking up the phone, I'm going to teach you how to do this. She learned how to pick up the phone, and I taught her how to shake hands with people. And people were blown away that this little girl was so confident on the phone and knew how to shake hands at the age of 3. 3. I taught her.
Well, and we have Scott, who's in the room here, and Scott's saying his mother did a great job in the handshaking department. So I was asking him, did she teach Scott how to shake hands? But he said, thanks, Mom. So I'm assuming that she taught Scott how to do that. We've got Scott who wants to jump in here, so I'm going to open up the seat for Scott.
Please do. Hey, Scott.
So before I say anything, let me know if am I attracting you? Is this?
Well, there's a big halo around you.
There's a huge halo, white halo around you.
That's the sun coming in on this side. So and I'm not.
Where are you dialing in from, Scott?
Central Pennsylvania, right up outside of Harrisburg. Where are you guys from?
Well,
I'm from New York, but I live in Colorado.
And what do you do, Terry? Where are you from?
I am originally a King of Prussia girl, Scott.
I go through there all the time on my way to Atlantic City.
And I now live in Newport, Rhode Island.
And your business is attraction?
It's Awaken the Possibilities. And I also have Attractionpreneur groups. There are Attractionpreneur communities in various places. And we teach entrepreneurs, leaders, professionals how to use law of attraction, intuition, and business systems to grow their businesses.
Isn't it about being genuine?
Integrity and authenticity is absolutely, bottom line, one of the most important things on the planet. Yes.
Yeah. It's hard to hold the line sometimes,
Well, if you make a choice to always stay in integrity, that is so important. I'm going to give you an example. And it just happened last week. During the snowstorm, right before the snow hit here in Rhode Island, I went to the store and the wind took my car door and slammed it into the car next to me.
Oh.
It took it right out of my hand.
Oh, no.
And I sat there and went, what the heck just happened? And I got out and closed the door, and I realized that the car next to me, a pristine RAV4, by the way, there wasn't a scratch on this baby. My car, it didn't ding it, but it scratched it. So I got back in the car and I grabbed my business card and I found a little plastic baggie and I stuck a yellow Post-it note in there and basically said, please call me. I'm sorry. The wind took the car and I will, pay for damages on the scratch. And I put it in the windshield. I could have very easily pulled away in that moment. And
that cost you about $1,500 probably to get that little scratch out of there, if not more.
They haven't called me yet. Yeah, but that's
they didn't get a hold of you.
They haven't contacted me yet.
The point, I think, is that that you were being genuine and authentic and honest and letting somebody know what had happened.
Right.
And it worked in your favor, it sounds like.
So what is your definition of integrity then? Honesty?
It's honesty. Absolutely. It's honesty and authenticity. It's honesty.
And what about you, Deborah?
I would say that integrity is being true to who you are. So if you have certain values about how you want to be treated, you treat people that same way.
That's right.
So, it's kind of like what Terry says, what you attract, what you put out is what you also bring in. Mm-hmm. So it's being sincere and being honest and being true to yourself so that you can, what's the word I'm looking for? Here I am a writer and I can't think of how I want to say it. But it's really about being sincere.
Yes.
Yeah, I always held it as you can count on the guy, or her. It's the integrity of the bridge that you're going to drive over. Can you count on that person? Is the person have integrity? Is the person's integrity of a nature that you can count on it?
Yes.
Count on.
And it's also about, it is about counting them, but it's about counting on them from a place that makes you feel good. If it doesn't make you feel good, then it's not a match.
Yeah.
It's not a match.
So how do I come off? Is it positive? Is it a 10 scale? 9? Am I 8, 7? I don't care what you say. I'm a salesperson. So you can say anything.
Let me ask you this, Scott. You're a salesperson. So how do people react to you when you're out, let's say, at a networking event? Do you go to networking events?
I hate them.
Okay. So where do you connect with people?
One-on-one. Coffee
shops. And how do people respond to you?
Coffee shops. I love Starbucks.
Okay.
I like lines. Anytime I see a line, I'm in the line, whether I need to be in the line or not. I love lines.
Wow.
Because you always have the person in front of you and the person behind you and one that's trying to butt in.
Oh, goodness. Okay. So, Scott, I'm interested. Why do you hate, quote unquote, networking events?
Because I end up talking too much and I'm not effective. So I'm thinking that I'm not the attraction that I need to be in the networking event because I'm talking too much.
Well, good noticing on your part. So if you're talking too much, what's the opposite of talking too much?
Talk less.
No, it's more than that.
Well, I know. What is it? That's why I'm sitting here.
Well, can I make a suggestion and tell me if I'm right, Terry?
Well,
one of the things that I suggest is that you are interested in other people. So you ask them about themselves and they'll find you interesting. What would be your suggestion, Terry?
Listen. Learn how to listen. People who talk too much, I'm going to tell you right now, I was one of them. I still am sometimes. People who talk too much, their biggest challenge is learning how to listen. And especially when you are cognizant that you talk too much, which you are. And that needing to learn how to listen is what sent me to coaching school. And that was back in the early 2000s. And I went to coaching school and learned how to ask open-ended questions, how to listen on third level listening, how to really listen to my heart, my mind, my soul. That's my computer who just informed us what time it was. It really is about listening. That's the bottom line. And when you shut your trap, really listen instead of thinking about the next thing you want to say. When you shut your trap, really listen with your whole mind, body, and soul to what the other person is saying. Then and only then can you really serve that individual in the way that they need to be served.
When you're doing that, do you ever find that you are also listening to that other person? Now, you're asking me, who is the other person? And I'm going to say it's that little voice that's saying to you right now, what the hell is he talking about?
Well, when you go into, if that little voice inside of you is saying that, you're talking about your intuition?
Yeah.
Talking about? Okay.
Yeah, I would say you can use that word.
Okay. Well, if your intuition is a very powerful word, and that's what I teach leaders how to tap into their intuition. And the key is if your intuition is saying you're talking too much, that's your signal to shut up and listen. Plain and simple. Yeah, right. Shut up and listen.
Be a good listener.
Good advice. No question about it. What you said about listening.
I don't mince words.
That's a $99 tip right there. So,
yeah.
So,
listen to your.
Well, thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us, Scott. We really appreciate you.
I like Blab. I'm not working. I'm really not working today. I made my quota yesterday. So, any good salesman, when they make their quota, they like to take a vacation.
There you go. Go celebrate.
So, yeah, right. But I do enjoy these Blabs, particularly some great women like you two. And the conversation is wonderful. This attraction thing, it's always gotten me, it always compels me into listening.
Well, Scott, you'll like my next book. That's called The Enchanted Boardroom, How to Evolve into an Unstoppable Intuitive Leader. And there's a very large segment in there all about law of attraction, leadership, and entrepreneurship. So you can get a lot out of it. It'll come out in the spring.
And where do you find that? On Amazon.com?
It will be on Amazon. It'll be in the bookstores. It'll be published by Motivational Press.
And how do I get reminded to do that?
Just register. I added you. I keep adding you to. I keep clicking on to be a friend of yours on Blab here, and it keeps coming off for some reason. And follow Deborah. And are you on Facebook?
Yes, Scott Silverstein.
Okay, so you can follow us on Facebook, and believe me, it'll be all over the place.
Are you on LinkedIn too?
On LinkedIn.
What else?
There's a little LinkedIn tip for you.
Instagram.
So Scott,
Instagram, all of them.
Yeah, not so much Instagram. I'm on it, but I don't do much with it.
What were you going to say, Deborah?
I was going to say, if you're using LinkedIn, when you send out an invitation to connect with somebody, do you personalize your invitation or do you just use their generic invite?
When I invite someone to get to follow me in LinkedIn,
yes.
That's the question.
Not follow you, to connect with you. When you want to connect with someone, it's really important that you send them a personalized invitation. Something that says.
What would constitute a personalized, like a picture of myself?
No. A personalized invitation says, "Hi, Terry. I heard you speak on the Marketing Blab with Deborah, and I'm really interested in client attraction strategies. I would like to connect with you. What do you say? Let's connect. Signed, Scott." That's personalized, as opposed to the generic invite that LinkedIn has that just says, "I'd like to add you to my network." And then people go, "Who are you? Why do I want to know you?" So,
I've never done a personalized one, and what you're saying makes so much sense. Just makes me look stupid,
Well, it doesn't, if I got it, I would respond to you and say, why are you reaching out? Because I don't say it this way, but when I get invitations from someone I don't know, and all it says is, I'd like to connect with you, I'm like, well, why do you want to connect with me?
Right.
So I get back to them and I say, were you referred to me? Were you searching LinkedIn? As Terry and I were talking about earlier, it's all about building relationships.
Yeah.
And so with LinkedIn in particular, you want to start a conversation, and that starts building the relationship. So just keep that in mind when you're on LinkedIn.
What about Twitter? What do you think of Twitter?
I'm on all of them. Terry's on them. I get most of my interactions happen on Facebook, like many people, and on LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter, and I tweet almost daily. But you have to experiment and see what works best with you, and see where your people are hanging out, people that you want to connect with.
That's right.
So
Scott, what do you do?
I represent Melaleuca.
Okay.
Are you familiar with Melaleuca?
Yeah. Yes, it's been around for quite a while.
Yeah, it's over 30 years.
Yep. Very nice.
So I do that, and I also have about 25 years experience in print media.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I lost interest in print media when I saw that, you can't sell against technology.
You can't
Well,
sell.
there's still a lot of people that use print media quite a bit.
What I want to say is that I have a business that sells designs, prints, sells, warehouses, distributes business forms.
Mm-hmm.
You remember the day of continuous business forms that ran up through dot-maker printers with multi-parts with carbon, interleaved with carbon?
Yes.
Remember those days?
Yeah.
Yes.
Millennials don't even know what those days.
Know what that is?
Yeah. Remember when we were kids? Remember the what do you call that thing? The
Decalator.
The thing that we used is the mimeograph machine we used to use in school.
Machine. Yes. Like the piece of
Yeah,
paper.
Now we're really dating ourselves.
Yeah, today everyone has their invoices stored on here, and nobody even uses them. Look what happened to the United States Postal Service.
Wait.
Well,
So-
you know what? I still believe in handwritten notes.
So do I.
I always write handwritten notes. I always send out thank you notes.
Yeah.
It might be a dying art to people, but people really appreciate it because we're so digital now.
That's right.
That we miss out on some of that connection.
There's
I always
an
on our
There's an
phones.
app called Postability.
Mhm.
It's a thank you note app. It'll send out the thank you note for you in a digital handwriting.
And
you
there's send
get
out
it-
cards as well.
When you get it, you know that it was digital.
Well, I don't know if you've heard of send out cards. It's a similar thing, but
Very,
I still believe in
very similar product. Yeah.
Okay.
I still believe in handwriting it myself. So, and
And
Terry,
your
I'll ask you.
Your
What?
card is on my refrigerator.
Well, thank you. But what I was going to ask you is, don't you think energetically, since we're talking about law of attraction, that there's a difference between sitting and taking the time to handwrite it versus send a text, send an email, or use send out cards, and I know a lot of people that use send out cards, they're wonderful. But I think energetically, when you handwrite the card, it's different.
Yeah,
Would you agree, Terry?
I also use send out cards. And I use it for the holidays when we have to send out, 150 cards, that kind of thing. However, to send out a handwritten note, there is an energetic connection there. And that's validated by the fact that one of our insurance companies, I forget which insurance company it is, but I remember the commercial. There is a man in his office in a high rise in the city with his sleeves rolled up, and somebody said, "Aren't you leaving?" He said, "No, I have a few things to do," and he's handwriting his thank you notes. So And that commercial has always stuck with me because it is the power of connectivity. It is the power of taking time to say, I value you. Thank you for spending time with me. Allow me to help you get what it is that you want. It's just an energetic piece that is so important. Now, one thing I will say this though, with the younger crowd, I'm not sure they get it as much as you and I would, Deb, or maybe even.
Wow.
What you're saying right now should be a commercial for the United States Postal Service.
Okay.
I'm serious. You should really call them up and let them know that you have something to say to their market, because they need something down there bad.
Yeah.
Well, they do need help, but I think it's still really important to remember that. And yes, the younger generation, they're so tuned into texting.
Yes.
If you took their phones away, they wouldn't know what to do. Bless their hearts.
Yeah, and
it's the way they're growing up.
Exactly. So that's the only thing where, in answer to your question, I valued the card you gave me because it was handwritten. I'm not so sure the younger kids would get the significance of that. And I could be wrong. Because I frankly haven't really asked them. And that's that's research to do. How would they feel if they got a written thank you note compared to a tech thank you note? That's something to think about.
I'm not even sure if these we're talking millennial. I'm not even sure if they know how to properly set up an envelope.
I can't answer that. I can't answer that one.
So where am I at now on the attraction scale? Are we at 7? Take a vote. I'm trying to practice on my attraction. Take a vote up there. We have one other person.
Well, it depends what kind of attraction you're talking about, Scott.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of attraction. Are you coming across as a very cool person that has a lot to offer? Absolutely. All right. So what is your intent when you interact with people? What is your intent when you connect with people? Do you want, is your intent to get them to like you, or is your intent to just be you and offer what you have and serve? Your intent is what sets the stage for what happens.
Well, when I'm at a network event, which I, again, don't like to go to them, but when I'm at one, or I'm at a reception or a cocktail party or anything like that, the long-term intent is to get a sale.
Okay. The long-term intent is to get a sale. I get that. However, your short-term intent, when you go to that networking event, it's about serving people.
I hear that. So my thinking is, when people smell the fact that you're a salesman, it's what they do in a used car lot. They head out the other exit. Let me just turn that off.
Okay. Scott, there's a word you say a lot. You've said it now about 4 or 5 times, and that is that you're a salesman. Are you really a salesman, or are you a person who likes to help people improve their health?
Oh, listen, my foremost goal is to leave a legacy, and the legacy is that I want people to know that I helped them.
Okay, so can you feel the difference there? Okay,
oh, yeah.
Instead of saying I'm a salesman, if I were in your shoes, if I were your coach, the first thing I'd say is get rid of that word.
Salesman.
Yes.
Fine. Let me write that down. Get rid of salesman.
And step into the energy and say, I serve and help people.
Right. It's definitely more powerful, more attractive.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, and I would say also go back to, well, it goes to what Terry's saying about serving people. Connect with them. Don't think, can I make a sale here? Can I make a sale here? Will I make a sale here? Think about, is there a connection here between this person I'm speaking to and myself or not? And sometimes there is, sometimes, tell me if you've had this experience, sometimes you meet someone and you connect, you could talk and talk and talk, and it just flows easily. Other times you might turn to someone to talk to them and it's like pulling teeth to get them to even answer, how are you? They might just say, fine. So is there a connection with the person that you're talking to? And you don't always connect with everybody.
Right.
Not everybody's going to be that person for you. But when you do.
That's the fact with everybody, isn't it? I mean, everybody has people that they connect with and other people that don't connect with. And I have a space that includes everybody, but there are people in my life that are like that. Yes. No. How are you?
Yeah. You don't connect with
that's
everybody.
How they're built. That's how they are built. And when you recognize that and honor that, you might be surprised at what happens. Sometimes when we interact with folks who are opposite than us, we tend to judge them. And that judging affects your attraction energy instead of enrolls that person into wanting to interact with you. So when we step out of judgment and we look at that person with what is it that they have to offer? What question could I ask to draw that person out? And if they give you one-word answers, they give you one-word answers, and it's okay. Love them anyway and keep going. It takes all kinds to make the world go round. And for those of us who are talkative, again, it's about listening to our intuition and fine-tuning. Really fine-tuning it like you do on a radio dial. And ask, okay, what is the question I need to ask here, or am I just to let it go and walk away?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's perfect. It's really just listening to yourself, not to your mind, but to your heart.
Well, and I want to add something to that, Deb. When we shift into the heart, we actually are incorporating the brain and the head. The heart is actually a brain. The head and the brain and the brain and the heart. And by the way, that is scientifically proven. This is not something that I'm putting out of the sky here. The brain and the head, when we shift here in this heart center and we become very present when we're in the heart center, we're actually engaging the logical, the practical, the tactical with the emotional, the spiritual, the energetic, and the physical. Okay. So when we connect it all, we end up being very grounded and tuned in. And it allows us to present ourselves from a very heart-centered perspective that creates a much bigger bandwidth, because you can measure the energy of the heart 6 to 10 feet away from the body in a 360-degree circumference. So when we are tuned and tapped in and turned on at a networking event, we become a client attraction magnet. Okay, because
so I think that's important. I think it's important that you reiterate that. Say that again, because I think people want to know, how do you become a client attraction magnet?
Okay. When you connect and breathe into your chest, breathe really deeply into your chest, you're connecting the brain and the head with the brain and the heart. You become very grounded, tuned in. You actually feel your feet on that floor and become very present in the moment. You're out of your head and in your heart. You know that you're there. It's almost like it's called, let me see if I can explain the feeling. When athletes are in the zone, everything becomes effortless and very clear, and you're very knowledgeable. When you connect the brain and the head with the brain and the heart, you are in the zone. You're in that heart-centered place where you attract people that you're meant to attract constantly. And that you become a client attraction magnet. You become an attraction magnet, whether it's your clients, no matter what it is that you want and focus on. And as an attraction magnet, You attract more of what you want instead of what you don't want when you're clear on what it is that you want. And that is to attract people who are going to make an ideal client for you or ideal referrals for you. When you go into networking events constantly with, oh, I want to sell, I want to sell, I want to sell, I want to sell, it makes it hard.
Yeah.
Go in with, I'm going to serve, serve, serve. What can I do to help people today? You become this genuine client attraction magnet that everybody wants to be with you because it feels good to be with you. You're not selling people.
Right.
A number of years ago, I traveled from Sarasota, Florida to Pittsburgh. And I had a little English bulldog, the puppy. Got a free seat, too, as long as I kept him in the crate under the seat. And the weather was terrible, so we spent a lot of time at these airports on delays. And it was amazing walking around with that little bulldog in my arms. Every woman, attractive woman, every woman in the lobbies of these places came over. Oh, such a cute dog. And it was amazing that that kind of stuff never happened to me in the past. And my wife always is talking about that. You wouldn't believe everyone was hitting on me from that whole trip. So
that's great.
Yeah. So is that? I don't know. I guess you could. Yeah, that's the idea, right?
We all need to carry puppies with us.
Really. Or kitty cats.
Kitty cats do the same thing. So,
so Terry, we're gonna wrap it up here soon. I'm
going to get off and let you guys do your close.
Thanks for jumping up. Thanks for joining us, Scott. It's been a pleasure to meet you.
I've been trying to give you little hands here, but my computer screen won't go down that far for some reason. So,
technology.
No big deal. I appreciate being on with you, ladies, and I'm following you. Have another one of these things. This is a lot of fun.
Oh, I do them just about every week. My next one is going to be February 12th, actually, because I'm not around next week. February 12th, my guest is going to be Sabrina Risley, who's another networking strategist. Nice. So if you want to join us, then check out, let's see, blabwithdeborah.com.
There you go.
Where you'll find, I'll put it down in here. Blabwithdeborah.com. And right now, Sabrina is my next guest. I'm going to be somebody else's guest on Tuesday. Her name is Felicia Slattery, and I'll be a guest on her show. Yeah, so on Tuesday at noon Eastern time,
nice.
I'll be a guest on Felicia's show, and I think we're going to be talking, I think she has questions for me on my book. Cool. So thank you, Scott, for being here. It's been awesome to have you. And we're going to keep talking for a few minutes. I want to get some more tips from Terry.
Take care.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, Terry, any other client attraction strategies you want to share that we haven't touched on yet?
Well, whoever you connect with, it is about following through, following up, sending the note, sending an email. You may want to send an email right away. Or send a text right away if you have their phone number and you say it was very nice to meet you. Somehow reach out to that individual to keep the connection going strong. I love your idea of the handwritten note, but again, in this day of technology, things are shifting, Deb. Things are changing, and as much as I prefer the handwritten note, and our generation prefers the handwritten note, it's something that really has become an art, and I love the idea of that note. However, the very first line is at least send an email or a text followed up by that note. And because I'll tell you, when I opened up your card, like I said, it is front and center in my refrigerator with the magnet, and I love that. And every morning I look at it, and it's important.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? I did just get a thank you note from somebody, and I have another card. You know, this is a card I got from someone, all handwritten notes, and they mean a lot. They truly, truly mean a lot to get them. I like to send them out myself. So try it. Work with it. Get away from the email. Get away from the text, or send the email and the text, but add the handwritten note in addition as a follow-up.
Well, and I'll add to that, because so many people have an influx of email, you know, in their inbox. That's right. That a note stands out, because they may not see your email. You know, who knows where it lands in their inbox. And a text, you know, you may or may not have access to their cell phone number, and you're not in their database yet. So when you send a text, make sure you say, "Hi, it's Terry," because otherwise they'll just see a phone number and they'll go, "Who's this?" Yeah.
Well, I guess,
so the follow-up is really important.
Let me tell you something that really blew my mind, that has, because of a text, that has created one of the most important connections in my life. And it was just Christmas time. I was driving along with my husband and down to Pennsylvania, and I get this text from this gentleman. I get this text. I'm like, who is this? And they're asking me to be on their podcast via text on my phone. And I'm thinking, really?
Who is this?
I've never done that before. I mean, and at first, I have to honestly say, I was a bit reluctant to respond. And I did. And we started connecting back and forth. And this person was given my name by someone who saw me. And they had chosen 6 people for this gentleman's podcasts. And I was the very first one that he wanted to interview. And it was in 2016. And he interviewed me for his podcast. I turned around and interviewed him for my own Blab, the Attractionpreneur business show. And it was all about law of attraction. And it all started because of a text from a stranger that I had no idea who it was, requesting me to be on their show. So all I can say is, you never know.
You never know where it's going to come from.
You truly never know.
That's true. You know, and Scott was asking about Twitter. I know people who have ended up getting speaking engagements because of a tweet that they put out. Somebody connected with them. Yeah. So, you know, you can just put it out there and see what happens. You know, different things work for different people.
It does.
And we all have our, we were talking about who we are authentically and genuinely. So do what feels best for you. But be open to the opportunities.
Yes. Well, you know, our good friend, Patty Farmer, shared with me that she gets the most sales from Twitter. It just blows.
I don't know how she does it, but she does.
I don't know how she does it either. I want to learn how Patty does that.
There's probably a coaching program for that.
I'm sure there is.
But real quickly before we go, it doesn't look like anyone has any questions. So if you do, I'd say jump on right now, because we're going to wrap it up. And if not, thank you. Thank you, Terry. We were blessed today to have smooth sailing on our show. And I really appreciate you being here. For everyone that's been here, this has been the Marketing Blab with Deborah. As I mentioned earlier, February 12th will be my next Blab. Terry has a show called the Attractionpreneur Business Show. So look up Terry Wildemann. And thank you all again for being here. I'm going to actually shut down the recording, but we'll stay on the line for a bit if you want to jump on, if Terry has time. But thank you all again for being here. It's been great to have you. Thanks so much, Terry.
Thank you.